I am so excited today to have Nadine Takvorian. She is a first-generation Armenian American author and illustrator of children's books and graphic novels based in the Bay Area. And her debut IA graphic novel, Armaveni, just came out this year, and it has received 4-starred reviews from Kirkus, School Library Journal, Forward, and Booklist, and it is a Junior Library Guild Gold Star selection. So congrats, Nadine.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So tell me how to pronounce your name and the name of your book in case I mangled it.
No, it's you said it just fine. It's Nadine Takvorian. And the name of the book, it's Armaveni. I know it looks like
Armaveni.
Armaveni. It's
Armaveni.
Armaveni. Yeah.
Armaveni. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
No,
All
it's
right.
totally fine.
Well, I was going to jump into your background of being an author illustrator, but actually, since we started talking about the pronunciation of the title, could you actually just quickly summarize what the book is about?
Yeah. So this book is about a teenage daughter of Armenian immigrants from Istanbul, Turkey. And she struggles with her identity and she's on a mission to learn more about her family's history and kind of uncover some of these secrets about her parents don't want to talk about it. She needs to learn more about what happened to them during the Armenian genocide.
Mhm. So, okay, let's go way back in time before we talk about the book specifically. How long have you been working as an author illustrator? And yeah, so tell me about the sort of the origins of your career.
Yeah. So I've been doing this, I guess, a while, but my background is in illustration. So comics is a little bit more new to me, although I've loved it for a very long time. But my background is actually in illustration. So I've been doing illustration for kids, but mostly for the educational market. So I do, I did illustrations for books you would not see in a bookstore. They went straight to school. So,
Mhm,
for example, I did a comic version of Beowulf, a really shortened version of Beowulf that went straight to school. Like you would not find that
mhm,
in a bookstore. That was a very fun
mhm,
project. But yeah, I've been doing illustration for a long time, and I always loved stories too. Though I wanted to tell my own stories as well, so I started to make that shift. I had an art director once ask me, I think after Beowulf, that if
mhm.
I was interested, do you have any of your own stories? And I'm like, I I will soon, I guess. So I better get started on that. So it kind of, yeah, that started me on that direction.
Okay, well, now go into that because how long did it take you from the moment when that art director said, like, do you have any of your own stories to the point where you had a book deal with a publisher for your
Oh
own book?
yeah, that was still a while. I mean,
Tell me
um,
about it. I love hearing those stories.
I always knew I wanted to make a story about this, what I ended up making since I was in
Mhm.
college, which was I don't know, a long time ago. I want to say no, I'll say it. I'll go ahead. Because I actually wrote an article about it. It was in 1999. That was the year I
Mhm,
graduated from college. I went to art school. And in it, I wrote, like one day I would like to make a graphic novel about my
mhm,
family's history, about the genocide. And it was just a dream. But that was a while ago. So,
mhm,
and, maybe the art director asked me if I had any stories, maybe 15 years ago.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
So, and then it was just kind of I didn't know how to make a story. I knew how to make illustrations, narrative
mhm,
illustrations, but I didn't know how to make my own story. So, I joined SCBWI and tried to learn everything I could about
mhm,
how do you craft a story. It's so mysterious.
mhm,
And yeah, it kind of came about from there. And I think after I became a mom was when the fire lit. Like there was something about that I just needed. Like the clock was ticking. I'm like, I don't want this to just be a dream that I never went after, and then
mhm,
would have regrets about not trying to make happen. At least I
mhm.
wanted to try. So I really went for it after that. And
So you said 2 things I wanna dig into. The first one is that you realized you needed to learn how to craft a story, and then the second one is that you decided, "Okay, the clock is ticking and I gotta make this happen if I can." So, let's take them one at a time. First about crafting a story, because I love that you mentioned that I agree with you completely that illustration is one thing and crafting a story is something else. And the thing that graphic novelists do is they put that together, which is actually, it's like learning two incredibly difficult lifelong crafts at the same time. So, what would you say was most helpful for you in terms of learning to become a better storyteller?
Mm. So I'll go ahead and name drop somebody if that's okay. I
Mhm,
came across I consider him a mentor, and I have met him, and he's really amazing. His name is Brian McDonald,
mhm,
and he wrote this book called Invisible Ink, and he's like
mhm,
story guru. And
mhm,
when I kind of came across his work, that's what really kind of clicked for me, because the way he talks about crafting a story really made sense and really broke it down in a way that made me understand this is how you do it. It still makes it doesn't make it any easier, but at
mhm,
least it gave me a blueprint. And I'll say the one most important thing I learned from him was that every story needs an armature. It's kind of like, what's the point of your
mhm,
story?
mhm,
And it's bigger than a theme. Like, he would say a theme is like a one word thing,
mhm,
but
mhm,
your story can't be just about one word. Like, if you're like, my
mhm,
story is about love, and I'm, well,
mhm, mhm,
what are you still trying to say about that? So the armature is actually a sentence,
mhm,
like, and that's what and within your story, you have to prove that armature, and everything revolves around that. Everything
mhm,
has to connect to that armature. It's like, if you an armature being like, if you're sculpting something, the armature is the wire that you have to build first, and then you
right.
play on top of that. But
Mhm,
it's the armature that holds everything up. You can't start
mhm,
without having that armature. So that's where that analogy comes from. And I really believe that's really true, and so always think of that as I move forward with the stories, and I thought about that while working on this story.
mhm. I love that you name dropped Brian McDonald and Invisible Ink,
If it's
because
helpful for
I
people, because it would really help.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, I did a YouTube video last week, where I mentioned, Your First 1,000 Copies, which is a fantastic book about book marketing, and so I love it. I'm such a I just love books that are nonfiction books that are truly helpful. So
Yeah.
and I agree with you, Invisible Ink in terms of story structure, fantastic, fantastic book. So we'll also put a link for that in the YouTube
Yeah,
description
I
for this
highly
video.
recommend it. I mean, it really helped me so much.
Okay, so you started understanding storytelling and putting the pieces together. I assume you looked for an agent, or what was the process in terms of actually getting from the point of learning how to tell a story to getting a book deal?
Yes, so this went in a weird roundabout way.
Okay. I love that.
I mean, I started to, as everybody starts, I'm like, well, I just need to start making, like, kind of, I need to write this and send something in. And I was so new and to trying to make a graphic novel that I didn't understand. You first needed to just make a pitch. So I
Mhm,
actually did a whole draft.
mhm.
I wrote the whole thing, and it was awful, but I thought, like, yeah, I did it. And I did send my awful draft in. I really cringe at it now. I did send it to an agent, and they were very kind. They did give me a champagne rejection, but they were like, this is really nice, but no.
Uh-uh.
And I was like, I was still a newbie, and I was really devastated. I was like, well, I guess this isn't for me, and not really like realizing, oh, that's, just keep, you got to keep working at it. But I kind of set it aside. But in the meantime, I had finished about 10 pages of final art. I
Mhm,
had drawn the whole, I mean, I'm sorry, I had finished the entire manuscript, but I had done, in addition to that, 10 pages of final art for the first pages. I did put those up on my website. And
mhm,
then I kind of forgot about it and was working on my other illustration work.
mhm,
And I had actually sent in, and I was still promoting myself and marketing myself as an illustrator for
mhm,
children's books. So I
mhm,
had sent some of my work to Levine Querido, actually,
mhm,
just as an illustrator.
mhm,
They were open for submissions.
mhm,
And several months later, I got an email like, hey, we looked at, thank you for sending us your work. And hey, I was poking around on your website, and I saw, a few pages of this art that you had up. We're really interested in seeing some more of that. I was like,
mhm.
and the funny thing about that is that happened at the beginning of lockdown during COVID.
Uh-huh.
So it was like, what's happening? Like my whole family's home, everything is going crazy in the world.
Uh-huh.
And I got this email. So I said, let me get back to you.
Uh-huh.
And then I was on a hunt for an agent at that point because I'm like, oh,
Uh-huh.
somebody is really, they
Uh-huh.
have some interest in this. Let me see if I can find an agent to help me. So then
Mhm.
that's how I then found the agent I'm with now.
Mhm.
And that took also some time, again,
Mhm.
because COVID was happening. So everything
Right.
was bananas. But yeah, then that happened. But then after I did get signed with my agent, that's when I really went to work on crafting like a really good pitch
Mhm.
that we could then submit to Levine Querido and others as well. Ultimately, I did go with Levine Querido because I did feel like, they get it and they were the first
Mhm.
to reach out and they first connected and I still felt that with them. So, and I'm so happy. I mean, it's just been a great place to be with them for this book. Yeah.
Awesome. So what did you do with your pitch? How did you change what you had already done? Because you said you
I
had the full dummy finished. Did you sort of rework the outline, or what was it that you changed?
Yeah, I really reworked a lot. There's a lot of things I kept. Anything that I had written that took place in the past,
Mhm.
in historical times, I kept, but the contemporary scenes I completely reworked because that
Mhm.
was just not working. And again, like I still consider myself a newbie. This was my debut, so
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
still learning how to craft a story. I feel like, but I had time. I also got connected with a critique group in
Mhm.
between that time, so I really worked with them extensively, showing them
Mhm.
everything, and
Mhm.
they gave me feedback. But then, yeah, I totally reworked the outline, made a completely new synopsis, really fleshed out the characters, did all my character designs, did some environment
Mhm.
designs to show them
Mhm.
my thumbnails, a set of
Mhm.
thumbnails. I didn't have it for the entire thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, those main things that you have to show in your pitch. That's what I really went to work on because I had not done that the first time around. But now, yeah, but now I know,
Okay.
yes, for everybody who is wants to make a graphic novel, you need to make a pitch. You don't have to write the whole thing, but you need
Yes.
to plan.
Well, one of the things that I thought was really beautiful and interesting about the book is that I read the whole thing, including the back matter, which where you talk about how you actually did have, although the book is based on your life, you had to change a lot of details about it because that the events that you're covering in the story actually happened when you were in your 20s, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
And but
So
you changed it so it was like you were in high school.
yes, yeah. And that was strategic for me because I knew I wanted this to be a young adult book. I wanted to
Mhm,
reach teens and adults, of course, and I wanted to use myself because I wanted to connect what happened to the past and how it affects me and like us,
mhm,
because these
mhm,
aren't things that just stay in the past. They affect us today. And that's the way I wanted to structure the story. And then and I'm like, well, I need to make myself a teenage character then. But like, these things didn't happen when I was a teen. So I needed to shift things around a little bit. And some experiences where I had to create some characters who are based on other
mhm.
characters that and other experiences that I did have, but I had to, kind of transcribe things a little bit so it worked for
Mhm.
this story.
Yeah, I think that's very, very common with this type of story. There's so many amazing, beautiful memoirs out there, graphic memoirs aimed at middle grade and YA readers. And I think in almost all cases, elements have been kind of moved around like puzzle pieces from
Yeah.
the author's actual life. Yeah, yeah, it's normal. So how did in what was the editorial process like working with Livy and Curito? Were there more significant changes to the story, or were you at the point once you'd gotten the pitch that it was more solid?
It was more solid, but the pitch was like, okay, we are moving forward with this project, and then I had to actually now write your draft. So for them it was their first draft, but for me it was a second draft,
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
a
uh-huh,
very heavily
uh-huh,
redone second draft. But I'm like, okay, here I go, and I
uh-huh.
did it, and then after a few months, how long did that take? That took several months, maybe 6 months. if I remember correctly, somewhere around there. But yes, then and I thumbnail at the same time. That's just how I work. But I sent that second draft for me into them, and I still wasn't there.
Mhm.
There were things that were working. I mean, I really loved working with my editor. He was incredible, and they're so great about telling you what is working, but these parts are definitely not working yet, and we need
Mhm.
to figure it out. So I did go back and I got my notes and I kind of cried a little bit, and then I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
got it. You know, and then I worked on it, the revision some more. And
Mhm.
then when I turned that in, a few months later, this is where it was like, oh, this is so much better. And there
Mhm.
were still, and it was like, okay, now we're there. There
Mhm.
were still things to tweak along the way, but I think for me, my third draft and
Mhm.
their second draft, it was much close. I mean, it was very
Mhm.
close.
Yeah.
But still, there were lots of tweaks along the way, but it was like the structure of it worked much, much better. But that I have to say is because of the feedback that I got
Mhm.
on the editorial side. I mean, he's just so good at what he
Mhm.
does. He was able to
Mhm.
communicate that. And then, they're not telling me what to change, and they're not telling me how to change it. There's
Uh-huh.
they're kind of guiding me and asking
Mhm.
questions, and then I have to go back and think about it and make the decisions on how to revise and how to implement the changes. But
Yeah.
so I think that comes from what kind, they're such good editors. They're so good.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I feel very lucky for the experience I had there.
Yeah, awesome. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about is that, it's a one color book, right? Is
Yes.
it? Yeah, which was that a decision that you made at the very beginning? Like, you knew this was gonna be a one color book, or was it a
Yeah.
discussion with the publisher?
No, for me, I knew from the very beginning, even when I made my really awful first draft, I
Mhm.
always knew it was going to be at least black and white. I did not want to add any color to this at all, and part of that was the subject matter. Just
Mhm.
like the subject matter, it's a kind of intense and heavy subject
Mhm.
matter, and it just didn't lend itself to being full color. But
Mhm.
also practical wise, like it would have
Mhm.
taken me forever
Mhm. Mhm.
to color this. So it's partly like it's just going to be faster if it's one color. But I
Mhm.
think the main decision making point was that it's just the subject matter and the story
Mhm.
needs to be one color.
Yeah, it was actually printed in a well, I read the PDF, so I actually haven't seen the physical book yet,
Oh, you
which
need to
I need
send
to
you
go
one.
out to the bookstore and see it, but is it like it's sort of a teal color? The
It's it's like a lavender. It's
okay,
kind of purpley. And
purpley.
yeah, I tried a few different variations. I tried like of something more blue and
Mhm,
something on the redder side. And this just wanted to be purple.
mhm. Yeah, I
It's
think
what
it
the
turned
story
out
wanted
really,
to
really
be.
well.
Yeah,
Even
thank
though
you.
it's one color, the fact that it's not black and white, that it's this purpley color, that does make it special.
Yeah, it's just again, it's one of those like weird amorphous, like how where do your ideas come from and how does this, and like I really do believe that a story, like, you have to do what the story wants to be,
Uh-huh,
and you have to
uh-huh.
figure that out. It's like it's not
Yeah,
obvious, but you have to follow, like, as you're working on it, it's gonna tell you what it needs to be, and you just have to follow that path. And,
yeah,
maybe
maybe
you're
you can
trying
show
different things. Yeah.
you mentioned that right before we started recording that you have a favorite spread. You wanna show that
Oh,
from the
yeah,
book?
yeah, let me see if I can find it. So, anyway, this is a cover,
Mhm.
but the spread here, I have it. Whoa, I'm almost losing it. This is one of my favorite spreads,
Uh-huh.
and this takes place in Istanbul in Turkey, and this is inside the covered bazaar. So it's just kind of like a montage of like all the cool things you would see inside the covered bazaar in Istanbul, and the characters are walking around. And this was really really fun to do.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, the artwork is amazing. How long did it take you?
Oh gosh, the art took just the art going
Uh-huh.
from, because I had already completed thumbnails, so taking thumbnails to final took a year and a half.
Wow.
It took a long time, because this turned into an over there's 330 pages of art, I think, 331. So, yeah,
Wow, that's
it
a
was
lot.
like and I knew it was gonna be nuts, but, it's really, you're kinda mentally prepared for it, and then it's a whole other thing when you're in it, but,
Yeah.
you're like, "Why? Why did I want him to do this?" but it's so rewarding when it's done now. So yeah, but for a year and a half, you're like, what am I doing? But it's this was a passion project of mine, and I think for any graphic novel, I mean, you have to love the
Mhm,
medium and love the story you're telling
mhm.
to know that you're going to be in this marathon,
Yeah.
for a while to create this project that you have this deep passion for. So
Did you have a routine that you followed in order to get all those pages done?
well, I used that sheet. There was like that sheet that broke it down, like, how do you schedule out your graphic novel? And, that was really helpful. I forget the name of the person who
Carrie
made that.
Peach, is that
I think
one?
so.
Okay,
She
yeah,
made,
yeah.
and she shared it. Like, she made this
Uh-huh,
whole spreadsheet on like
uh-huh.
Google spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was really helpful and kind of figuring that out. And yeah, and then I made a whole oh, I don't have that with me now. I don't think, but I made a sheet for myself with and a chart so I could fill in as I was like completing certain stages of a page.
Mhm,
So that could help me, visualize where I
mhm,
am with the tunnel. Like I see the
mhm,
light at the end of the tunnel, and more squares are
mhm.
getting filled in. And yeah, so and then I knew. I mean, once I was in the final stages of it, I was working 6 days a week. I gave myself 1 day off. You do need to pace yourself. You
Yeah,
do need to give yourself breaks.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's really, really important. I think it's very easy for us to be like, "No, I'm gonna,
Mhm.
crank through it," but, like, you just can't you won't
Yeah. You will
physically
injure
and
yourself
mentally,
if
you will injure yourself. Yeah, it's
yes.
not you have to take breaks. So, but yeah, I was going 6 days a week.
And how
Like,
many hours a
all day.
day for those 6 days? All day?
Yeah, well, if I condense it all together, because I have kids and they'd come home and
Mhm.
then we have to,
Yeah.
maybe 6 hours if
Mhm,
I condense it all.
mhm,
Around
right.
6 hours a day of, like,
Yeah,
really drawing,
yeah,
which
yeah.
and then I'm emailing and stuff too and, like, doing all that
Right.
stuff, but yeah, there were, nights in between, it's like it's chunks, so, again, like, my kids would come home and, like, try to spend time with them, and then,
Mhm,
I'll
mhm.
see if I can do one more page after dinner when they're
Yeah.
in bed.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, yeah, it is totally intense. So,
very
I'm really curious, you took my How to Launch Your Graphic Novel course last
yes.
fall. How much after you had turned in the final art was that when we started that course together?
Let's see, I finished final art over summer, and
Uh-huh.
your course started October?
I think
I wanna
so. I
say
think it was
somewhere around
October,
there.
yeah.
And then, yeah, I was just so interested because my launch was coming up, and I just I felt like I needed a little bit more help, and it was so helpful in some of the tools that I learned in your course. Like, for
Mhm.
example, some of the things like, it really helped me with my newsletter and getting that going because I had one, but I wasn't really it was just kinda like
Uh-huh.
and like like 5 people on it and like and it's still not a lot, like, I need to go back and work on it some more, but, like, it really helped me get to a place of, like, "Oh, now I have, like, enough subscribers where I really feel like, okay," I think it's a ongoing thing where you have to keep working on it and keep telling people, "Hey, I have a newsletter if you wanna
Yeah.
sign up for it." So that was really helpful. Another thing was after launch, like when or actually leading up to launch, it starts
Mhm.
getting crazy with you have these interviews and
Mhm.
people start asking you for, hey, can you do a school visit coming up or this and that? And like, oh, we need to do this another like this, like a podcast or
Mhm.
something.
Right, right, right.
And you had made a spreadsheet on how to organize all of that and track all of that. And I was getting lost. Like, I'm like, oh, wait, Jana made something like that for us. And then I went back and, oh my gosh, it was a lifesaver. It just was so awesome. I'm like totally consulting that. And I can see,
Mhm.
because I was getting afraid of there were so many emails coming in. I'm like, I'm going to forget one of these and I'm going
Yeah,
to forget to respond back to somebody. And I don't want anything to fall in I don't want anything to fall through the cracks. I want to be on
yeah.
top of it. So that spreadsheet was really helpful. And also just being connected with other artists who
Well,
are
that
going
makes
through the
such a
same
difference.
thing. That was actually one of the most important things was just having like a community of peers to connect
Yeah.
with and know that we're all on the same page and this is hard, but we're rooting with each other. We're all going through it. Yay. So
Yeah.
that was really awesome.
What was your favorite or what's been your favorite experience or maybe I should say most one of your most memorable experiences since the book came out?
Gosh, one of my most memorable experiences since the book came out. I think what is really great is some of the responses I get from readers, and particularly this is a book about an Armenian experience, and so for the Armenian community, I feel like we know our story, like its
Mhm, mhm,
representation, which was really important to me to create. But it was also important for like people outside of the Armenian community because it's a history people don't know about. So I've gotten a lot of reviews, and I actually did get like somebody from Indiana, like a total stranger, sent me a note in my contact form to say, "I loved your book. I didn't know anything about this history. Thank you so much for writing this." And it's like, "Oh my gosh, I mean that was the whole point." So I
yeah,
mean that really touched me so deeply, so that the fact that it is reaching people
mhm,
and
mhm,
people are learning about the history and they are actually connecting to it. Even though it's outside of their experience, it's resonating with them. And like I was able to connect with somebody out in Indiana,
yeah,
like that's amazing. I think that's been the most
yeah.
amazing thing so far is just connecting. And then doing these school visits and connecting with kids too has been awesome.
When you do the school visits, are you visiting all different age levels?
It's mostly middle grade and up. So I've done
Mhm,
one high school. High school's hard.
mhm,
They're like too cool for school. But, maybe I've only done one, but most of them have been middle grade, like 6th grade and up, 6th through 8th
uh-huh,
grade, and
uh-huh,
that's probably the rate. I wouldn't really go below. I have
yeah,
seen some 5th graders, but, like, that's
uh-huh,
getting kind of young, I think, for
yeah.
history, but, yeah, they've been great. It's awesome. It's awesome to
So
connect with kids.
when you do your school visit, what's sort of the framework of your presentation to the kids? Are you focusing on the creative process, or are you talking about the story itself, or
Yeah, I'm not talking so much about the story itself. I kind of split it in 2 ways 'cause I s I have visited some Armenian schools, and again, like,
Mhm,
they know their own story, they know our
mhm,
story, and then I've visited, regular schools that, are
mhm,
not it's just like public schools.
mhm,
So I kind of think about that as, how I'm
mhm,
gonna talk about it. But mostly it's about, a little bit of my journey of how I started to get into art and where I was
mhm,
when I was 13 and like,
mhm,
when I was a
mhm,
kid drawing and making
mhm,
stories. And then what my influences were and then the process of making the graphic novel because for me it was so mysterious like how do you
mhm,
do this and I wanted to show kids like well this is how I did it made
mhm,
it's not the only way but this is the way I did it so
mhm,
and I just want to share that with them and I might do a little bit of drawing for them too at the
mhm.
end of it just to do
Have
like a little
they
drawing demo.
Oh, they always love the drawing demos.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. Have they asked you any surprising questions?
not yet. I've done a handful of like
Uh-huh,
maybe 6 or 7 school presentations. I haven't gotten anything really too crazy yet, but
nothing
maybe
off the
coming up
wall.
in the future, somebody will ask me something really crazy. It hasn't happened yet.
So what are you working on now?
That's a great question. So I knew after this, I'm like, I do not want my next project to be a graphic novel because that was
Uh-huh,
so hard and intense. I mean,
uh-huh,
I love it and I'm sure I will do it again. But I think my next project may actually be a picture book. Because again, like my background is in illustration
mhm,
and I do think very visually. So I
mhm,
do have one in the works that I'm
mhm,
still, making a dummy for.
mhm,
So that is probably my next one. And after that, I also have some other ideas that it could be another like YA graphic novel
mhm,
or maybe a hybrid like
mhm.
illustrated novel again because I'm just like, wow, that was, doing a graphic novel was so crazy that do I really want to do it again? But I might,
Maybe just take a
kind
little
of again,
breather and then
yeah. Well, again, like it's also like what does the story want to be? So sometimes you need to work on it. And then if it does really want to be a graphic novel, I will do it. I will
yeah,
absolutely do it. But if it's like this could be illustrated novel, then maybe I'll steer that direction. But
yeah, that makes sense. So how can people connect with you?
oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, they can find me on my website. Yeah. Everything you can find a lot on my website. I do have a newsletter. So if anybody wants to connect with me on my newsletter, please do. I love connecting with people on my newsletter.
Mhm.
And yeah, so and you can also find if you search under my name at Nadine
Mhm.
Takvorian, you can find me on Instagram and
Mhm.
TikTok, and I'm on Blue
Mhm.
Sky and Threads. I'm not really posting so much there, but I am there.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
see a lot of stuff. But those are the main places, and I really love interacting with people. It's like in being part of the community and everything and sharing. Yeah.
Yay! So I hope everybody who watches this goes and subscribes to your newsletter, connects with you on Instagram or even on TikTok.
Yeah. It's
That would be
fun.
amazing. Thank you so much, Nadine. This was
Jana,
great.
thank you for inviting me. This has been such a pleasure. I had such an amazing time in your course. So I encourage people to sign up for your course too. Yeah.
Thanks.